What's up, everybody? It's Matt DeMarinis here, coming to you with a Thanksgiving week podcast. Hope everybody's doing well, getting ready to celebrate with your families in a safe manner. Today, I have head coach of the Creighton women's basketball team, Jim Flanery, joining me. We're going to be doing a little bit of a roster preview for the 2020-2021, or whoever knows how long it lasts, season. For the Creighton women's team. And so Flan, how you doing, man? How's life with trying to stay safe and trying to develop a basketball team to be ready for day one? How's that going?
It's good. I feel like we've had some bumps, and we've had some people out of practice, some COVID related or quarantine related, but we're pretty healthy right now. And I don't, it's just so day to day. Like there's so many things happen, but I've been really pleased with our players' attitudes and just their resiliency. Like I feel like they've handled it really well. I think it's not easy for any of us, and I think when you're 19 to 21 or 2, it's got to be harder because they only get a small window to kind of go to college and be a college kid and then compete on this stage. And just I've been really impressed with our players' ability to handle it, and that's really helped me too. I think if I to be honest, like because there's days where you think, well, we're not going to have a season, or it's going to be so truncated or so warped from any version of a season that we've ever had that that you just kind of let pessimism seep in and soak in whatever. And then, but I think our players have been so good that it's been hard for me to kind of go down that path of poor, just poor attitude. So it's been good. We'll see. I mean, I just think being around them and being able to practice most every day in a kind of functional manner has been really good.
Yeah, I was talking to Sai the other day, and she was mentioning that she mentioned that you guys did have a few go in and out of quarantine, but she said your players actually wanted to continue practicing in masks in order to keep themselves as safe as possible, in order to preserve whatever they could on their end, a season that you're going to have. Have you been kind of impressed with the maturity of their decision making and trying to do as much as possible to keep themselves safe while also, practicing on a daily basis or whatnot?
Yeah, I have been. I think it's really admirable that they've been, and I'm guessing none of us have been perfect. I know, but I think for the challenges that are present for kids that age or young people that age, I think they've done a great job. And yeah, they've wanted to practice in the mask because it's going to prevent them from going into quarantine in a lot of cases. And I think they've got, part of it is I think they've gotten used to them. I mean, I don't think it's perfect by any means to have to do that, but I do think there's that they've adjusted and had enough of a period of time in them that it's probably a little bit more normal than it was to begin with. Because I think when you first start doing that, you can't imagine maybe going through a regular practice with it. When we were doing shorter workouts in the fall, and but I think they've done a good job of adjusting. But and like I said, it's like anything. The more you do it, the more it kind of seems like it's not too far out of the ordinary.
Mm. Some volleyball teams around the state played in masks. When open gym started up on the AAU circuit again, I saw some guys that continue to play in masks. Your team's not going to do that for actual games, are they?
Well, we haven't even we've given them the option of if they want to individually, they can, or if they want to collectively, they can. And we brought it up. I brought it up Saturday to our players, and they said they really hadn't had kind of a formal discussion. So I'm whatever they want to do. Oh, I mean, if from a contact when we had a contact tracer, our on-campus contact tracer come talk to us on Saturday, and I mean, I think if there's good reason to believe that it would keep us from, if an outbreak occurred on a after a game with somebody, if we were masked, and our contact tracer would say that we're okay to continue playing because we were masked, I think that's a pretty powerful thing for them to hear. And then but it also depends on what other teams are doing with their contact tracing and quarantining, because we can be ready to play, but if we can't find opponents who are healthy enough to play, then that doesn't do us
for sure
good.
You the whole staff still plans on coaching in masks. Is that still the plan, or?
Yeah, we'll be in masks.
Gotcha.
I always think it's funny when football coaches take off their masks, it's to yell and scream, and
right.
That's where they're most likely to be spreading it, versus if they're whispering, with nobody around them and they're masked. I mean, I don't know, but
that has been so true. Like, they always are like, okay, it's time for me to project my, my whatever, the particles. So now I got to take the mask off to yell. It's like, that's when you should have it on. When you're just breathing,
right.
It's the other thing. Yeah.
So I wonder how. I do wonder a little bit, because I'll pull my mask away from my face to breathe. Once in a while practice, or you got an itch you got to take care of on your face. You'll pull your mask, or you'll pull it down you'll walk away and pull it back down and itch something or whatever. But I do wonder, like, when we get into a game, if I'll be disciplined enough to, like, never pull it down to yell, because if they're at the, and I know we're not going to have, it's not going to be super loud in the building, but, like, I do wonder if how that'll work if they're at the other end and I'm trying to call something, and, will I pull my mask down, and is that going to be I mean,
yeah.
But in general, we're going to be masked.
Lucky for you, you have a naturally loud voice, so you should be okay, right?
Not a problem.
Yeah, let's jump into this roster preview a little bit here and kind of introduce the team to the world, if you will, through what you've seen so far through this offseason that has been obviously unconventional, but still one where you've been able to evaluate what you'll have, at least in the next couple of days, against Drake. Starting with the seniors, and I wanted to start with Temi Sarda. Her career has been she's had a really solid career. She's kind of flown under the radar throughout it because she's been more of an auxiliary part of the system, playing off of the Audreys and Jalen's and Sydney's in her younger years. But so I guess the question with her is, from your eyes, you have this player who's been super solid throughout her career. Now she's jumping into a role that she hasn't yet undertaken in the previous 3 years, and it's a pretty big task. Like, how is Temi handling the leadership aspects of the role she's filling now, and how has her skill development progressed to what you want to see out of a senior leader like that?
Sure. Well, I think you're right. She's probably, I thought Temi would be a good college player, but I didn't necessarily envision her to be quite as good a scorer as she's been, to be honest. I felt like she was just small enough that, at her very best, maybe at her apex, she'd have been a 10, 11 point a game scorer, even as a senior. I felt like she was ready to play defensively and just as a competitor right away, but I didn't know if she had enough offensive, game to be as good a scorer as she's been throughout her career. But yeah, the leadership has been great. I feel like she's, you know, she's she's really good on the court, and I, you know, as a coach, you don't always get to see the off the court stuff. I think she's good there, but like she's always been a good communicator on the court. And once practice starts, she's just a high energy player. And you know, I think the thing that you value is we've had to play. You know, Dee Dee had some back issues, so she was out for a little bit, and Tatum's knee isn't perfect from last year even. So Timmy's had to play a lot of point guard in practice the last, you know, really since we got on campus in the fall. Like she's had to go back and forth in practice between point guard and off the ball. And she just seemed, you know, she does what you need her to do. She's very intelligent that way, and very willing to do whatever she needs to do in practice to make sure that practice goes off the way it needs to. And I think that's something that you value it as you see it more in the day to day. And then I think the last month she's practiced really well. I think really through the early fall, I was like, wow, she hasn't shot it as well. And it looked like she'd lost a little bit of strength maybe. But I think, you know, so we had a little bit of just, hey, is she, like you said, going to be able to hold up to what we need of her? But through the last month, I feel like she's really practiced well, and she shot it better, and just overall done a really good job. So I'm excited for her. I think she's, you know, knock on wood, she's been super durable too. I mean, she's got a little bit of a lingering back issue that she always has to, you know, but like I mean, I don't know that the kid's missed a game or a practice in the time that she's been at Creighton.
Right.
And so you know, and that's something that I think sometimes we undervalue too, is just how steady being in practice every day is for younger players to see her example every single day. So I'm excited for her and about what she's done. And I think she's going to have a really good year.
Nice. Tatum Brembaugh is the other member of the senior class. They came in together, and it looked like, you know, right off the jump, I think that Wichita State game was their first one of their careers, and it looked like they were going to be a pretty formidable duo between the two of them. But, you know, injuries have kind of always been the hurdle that have gotten in the way of Tatum kind of really hitting a stride, whether it's from one year to the next. How has she done so far in keeping herself healthy and available in practice? And what are you seeing out of the 4.0 version of Tatum, especially at the one?
Yeah. Well, I've made the remark that I think she's a key to our team, because I think when she's in practice and healthy and going at full speed, she and Temi, I think, are clearly our two best players. And she gives us just some pop and the experience there, but also just the ability to make plays in the open court, but also end a shot clock, broken plays, and getting the ball on the rim. And she's improved as a 3-point shooter. That's still not, you know, she doesn't fall in love with it, which I like, because she's good at attacking. So, and she's been mostly available. I mean, we're going to need to, she's not in the Olivia Elger, barely practiced senior module, but we have to be smart. Like our trainer will say, yeah, it might be good to rest Tatum, you know, whatever day, or, you know, maybe take her out of a couple drills here and there, just because she hurt her PCL been almost 11 months, I guess. But, you know, she's had enough of a lingering issue that we have to monitor it a little bit. But I think she's a key, because I think she's got the experience and the skill set and the athleticism to really give us a solid starting backcourt. And you know, and I think, you know, just with age and maturity comes more confidence. And when she's bouncing around and playing with confidence, we're going to be better. So I think I like what I've seen from her, but you know, she's a little bit more precarious in terms of like the day-to-day availability than Temi, just because we need to be a little bit not super worried about her knee, but just not put too much mileage on it in practice more so than in games.
Gotcha. Jumping into this junior class, I'm a believer in the kind of the theory that as players get into that third year, they kind of become who they're going to be. At some point throughout that season, they kind of show you what you can expect out of them as a baseline for a college player. You've got 4 kids there who have kind of had, sporadic roles depending on how they performed, both in practice and in games. So they're all kind of like interesting in that regard because they all kind of fit that, sometimes they've been keyed on here, sometimes they haven't been. It hasn't necessarily been matchup based, but more consistency. What have you seen so far, starting with Rachel Saunders out of her, especially because of what you're losing on the defensive end without Jalen?
Yeah. Well, I think, your first, the defensive end is really where Rachel has had her value, particularly probably her freshman year, but even last year, I felt like I think she made a nice little jump offensively. And, like you said, kids get more comfortable. And, the challenge for her will be to add to her game without expanding it too much. I think, Rachel's, we don't need 15 points from her, and we don't need her hunting shots. We need her to make open shots and offensive rebounds and a lot of the same things that we've seen from her over her first 2 years. And so just kind of put her, have her expectations where they should be, but just, give us the toughness, the physicality that she, without quite as many fouls as we saw. And she did better last year. Her freshman year, she was a little too foul prone, and she had a little bit of that in her last year, but she shot it well last year. I felt like she was, so I think, that's been a little bit of a struggle for her in practice, is figuring out. And part of it is, Matt, we got some of our younger kids can score the ball better than maybe I thought. So I think she's still kind of trying to figure out, okay, when do I put it on the floor and try to make a play? But we know what we're going to get in terms of just the effort and I think attention to detail defensively has been even better than last year. So we just, she's somebody you're going to be comfortable with. Just, for her, it's about, squeezing a little bit more out of her, what we need from her offensively without forcing plays.
Gotcha. Moving on to Peyton Brodsky, local kid who, I don't know if it's accurate to say she struggled with confidence, but it definitely seems to be reflective in her shot taking, I guess. Shots that she'll normally see her pull in practice, maybe in games she'll hesitate a little bit because she's not sure if that's the shot that the team needs at the moment, or if she's not sure that she's feeling in rhythm. How many strides has she made in terms of feeling more confident to be that knockdown shooter that she certainly is talented enough to be for you guys?
Yeah, well, that's right. That's the key. Like, she shot it her freshman year. She shot it pretty well, especially after she got off to a rocky start. But then, after the first 6 or 8 games, she shot the ball really well. And then last year she struggled shooting the ball. And, when you struggle shooting the ball, your decision-making gets worse because you don't trust your shot. So you're making dribble plays that you're probably not equipped to make. And so I think that really kind of hurt her. And we've tried to make her just a little bit more of a catch and shoot player, because we feel like when she does put the ball on the floor too much, she's going to be more turnover prone. But the thing I like about what I've seen from her this fall is she's been a better rebounder at both ends. Like, she, the other day in practice, she had 5 offensive rebounds. And so I think, and that's what you want your upperclassmen to understand, is that, like, you might be 0 for 4 or 1 for 5, but can we keep you on the floor because you play with intelligence defensively? You give us, you get us extra shots. You're a little better screener. You're a little better cutter. And we've seen that from her. And so I think it does come down to her making some shots here and there, though, too. I think she's going to have to shoot it a little better than she did last year. But if she does, her her ability to read the game offensively, I think, will be good because she is a gifted passer when she's shooting it well enough to kind of have the game slow down for her. But some of the other things I think she's gotten better at. Like I said, rebounding, just being willing to do some things defensively and just on-court communication. I think as an upperclassman, she's been good there.
Gracie Griglione, a redshirt junior, right? So in her fourth year actually on your team. Last year played more of the that big ball five, but also showed that she can step out and hit a jump shot every now and then. As she continued to grow in terms of being a versatile five player for you that can be on the floor for longer stretches going into the season.
Sure. Well, Gracie's value is going to be in just kind of keeping us structured. She's a good screener. Like you said, she needs to be able to make a 3 once in a while just so she can help us spread the floor and, maintain spacing so we can cut and score at the rim. She's not going to necessarily score with her back to the basket, but she can score off pick and rolls. I mean, she's a good role player in terms of ROLL, not ROLE, but she's good. She's good rolling to score off of a ball screen. Can finish with either hand. And just the again, being a good on-court communicator is going to be important. She's got to use her experience there because we've got some younger kids who are going to be a little more athletic than her, but they also haven't been in the college basketball program for 3.5 years the way she has. So, I mean, she just needs to be solid. She doesn't need to be spectacular. She just needs to be efficient, make just enough perimeter shots, and defensively, defensive rebounding is key. Like, I think when Gracie's physical and we don't lose defensive rebounding when she's on the floor, then she can be on the floor. But if she's not, she's not going to get loose ball rebounds necessarily because she's not quick enough, but like she just needs to be physical and be a good, good defensive rebounder. That really will help her get on the floor. But I just think she's got enough experience in our motion offense that there's a comfort level with her on the offensive end for sure.
Chloe Dorick, she kind of seems like one of these Tyler Clement, Ali Jensen type players where it's like there isn't anything that's ever going to jump off the screen or jump off the stat sheet at you. But when you also look at like the negative categories, you're also not going to see any of those. Like it's just a super steadying force out there that you kind of flies under the radar, but helps in more ways than you realize at the end of the day. Like what does year 3 look like for Chloe, and how would you assess what her game brings to your team?
Yeah, I think she is like an Ali/Sammy Jensen player. Like I feel like she's low mistake, you kind of know what you're going to get. And the thing I think that we told her out of last year was she shot it well from the 3 her freshman year, and she kind of, again, she didn't shoot it as well early, and she just kind of ran away from her shot, especially in games later in the midway point of the year. And I said that hurts you. We don't expect you to score 12 a game, but when you're in and you're open, we need you to shoot the ball, and you need to be a little bit higher usage player, just because we're going to need that. And I think she, just struggled enough last year from a confidence standpoint that became a little bit of an issue. And I think she's cleaned that up. I really think she's done a really good job this fall of being a little more shot ready, and her footwork. And we've said, look, you need to be shot ready every time. And, we don't need you putting the ball on the floor quite as much, just eliminate wasted dribbles. And I think she's done a great job there. I mean, she's got a chance, in practice. As of a few days ago, she had 24 assists and 9 turnovers through, and it's like, that's, almost 3-1,
Yeah.
and that's who she needs to be. She needs to be somebody who doesn't make mistakes, but she's also got to make more threes than she did a year ago, and I think she's really done a good job of that in practice, and I think I think she's playing the best she's played, and I think she's got a chance for sure to help us this year.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's always the funny thing about Chloe is like when everything starts to accumulate, you're like, wow, that kid is super, super low mistake.
Yeah.
She just doesn't have the clunker that drives those stats out of whack. It's pretty funny. Us going into your sophomore class a little bit here. Carly Batchelor's a kid that certainly when Jalen went down, she obviously stepped up and had a really big stretch of games there. What do you guys want out of year 2 from her? Not only in enhancing some of the strong areas of her game that she brought you as a freshman, but also maybe taking it to the next level and making her someone that an opposing scouting report has to account for.
Yeah. Well, Carly is at her core, she's just an activity player, like just high motor, get us extra shots by running, get us better shots by running the floor and, creating a mismatch or opening up something for a perimeter player in transition, cutting, scoring off the cut, offensive rebounding. And then, she gave us a good ball handler. Like the teams that pressed us, she did a good job of handling the ball. I thought that was one area where I was really, really pleased with what she did. And, her biggest thing is she's got to add the 3-point make to her game. And she was a good 3-point shooter in high school, but as a freshman who's not getting to shoot a lot of them, she just, lost confidence and, didn't make enough to really force teams to prepare to guard her at the 3 line. So that's what she needs to do, is be just good enough from the 3 that it sets up the rest of her game. And she's done that in practice. I feel like she's been a more confident 3-point shooter. That's certainly not what we don't need her to shoot 6 a game, but we need her to be able to squeeze one and make one here and there. She's added a little strength, but that's not going to be her strength. Isn't going to be her strength. It's going to be like I said, just being able to, be tough to match her energy level. And I think she's done a good job. I mean, she's a little more comfortable, a little more confident, and defensively, I think just a little bit more versatile, having had a year of college basketball and understanding, okay, when we switch, how do I play this person? And so I'm excited for her. I think she's worked hard to put herself in a position to really help us.
Gotcha. Micah Parham was kind of like a matchup-based player last year. Certainly the Marquette home win stands out in terms of her being able to match up with a big physical front line and help you guys win a game that was close down to the wire. When you look at, especially, so she's been a kid who's like, she works on the things that I've never really seen kids work on. Part of my question is, has that continued in terms of just like her body positioning, her screening, kind of just understanding the nuances of the game at her position? And obviously her voice has gotten, more prominent from an outward perspective, like in social media and all that. But has that translated into the gym and in throughout the team, not only in ways that where she's continuing that Allie Green tradition of being a poor joke teller from the Minnesota angle to start practice? Sorry, Michael.
Yeah, she's I think she came in really focused this fall, and I think she's, in the skill work, you could definitely tell she had made some gains. Now I think when you start playing 5-on-5, the challenge is, can I do some of those things? Am I comfortable? Am I confident enough to do those things when we're going 5? And so we've seen less of that, but she's still developed offensively from a year ago. She's, and your point about the teams where we're playing, where we need defensive rebounding and physicality and low post defense, she's going to be, our number one option to guard because she can do all those things. I mean, her defensive rebounding numbers in practice are, far and away the best on our team. And so we like what she can do there. And she's gotten a little bit more comfortable, with an inside pivot, Sigma move where she can face and shoot it from, 7 to 14 feet. And she made some threes in the fall, but I mean, she won't shoot too many of them. I told her late shot clock, she can squeeze one or maybe even, but, again, just when you're talking about same thing with Carly, just the confidence of having gotten to play just enough as a freshman, but the hunger of wanting to be even better and more productive as a sophomore. I feel really good about where she is. And I think her value will be greater game to game, but like you said, I think there'll still be the physical teams where we need her defense. She'll have a little bit more value maybe than if we need to score the ball, and maybe low post defense and rebounding isn't as big a deal.
De'Arca Pryor, she obviously you mentioned previously the injuries that have kind of prevented her from having a consistent presence in practice and in games. But the obviously the one that jumps out is the St. John's game last year on the road that she almost helped you guys win when you were shorthanded. What does she look like so far through these handful of practices that you guys have had in starting year 2 for her?
Sure. Well, she's, she had a little episode with her back, and it kept her out a little bit, but she went through some of the same. I look at her freshman year, kind of the way Tatum's was, where when she got to play, just when you're a decision maker as a freshman guard, you got the ball in your hands a decent amount. She had some really good moments, and she had some moments where you just get going too fast. And I think hopefully the game slows down for her, and her basement is higher, because I think, when you're a freshman ball handler, she made a lot of good plays and had good moments, but then just the consistency of decision making. And I think her shot, she was a good 3-point shooter in high school, but in early, I thought last year she shot it really well in practice, but lost as she played a little less, the season went on, she lost a little confidence there. So, but she's a good, capable 3-point shooter. So I think the question is, can she make a good enough jump from a decision-making standpoint? And, I think she's had a good last week of practice. So I think she's put her, after missing some practices, I think she's put herself back in the mix. And I think we're going to need her. And defensively, she can make some plays for us. So, I think the good thing is, if we have a stretch where Tatum maybe isn't quite healthy and you need to play more minutes, I think she's going to be capable of that. But I still think there are going to be times where, she can really help us just because of her ability to make play. Some of the same things with Tatum: make plays in the open floor, make end of shot clock plays. It's just about in some ways it'll be just about making the simple plays when simple plays are needed.
Jumping into this freshman class, a super talented group, honestly. It's, maybe to say that there's some Audrey and Jalen potential in there is unfair because they haven't played a game yet, but there's quite a bit of skill in this group, and I kind of wonder how you feel about it as a whole. But starting with Morgan Malley, local kid, Gatorade Player of the Year, state champion. So like there's skill, there's winning experience there. What have you seen out of her so far as she transitions to the next level?
Yeah, physically she's strong, put together. I mean, she's got, and she's a little bit more of a perimeter player maybe than I thought. She's a really good catch and shoot 3-point player. and I think she's picked up offensively maybe better than I thought because she played a lot of zone on her high school team and even her club team. She'll have some of the same growing pains most freshmen have defensively, but I feel like she's done a good job there. Um, and even though I've been impressed with her catch and shoot ability, she can score in other ways too. She can score a little bit in the post. She's done a good job on the glass. I think she's got a chance to be a really good player and has been coachable. And, I think the conditioning, the up and down piece is something that, she's got to continue to work on, but I think she's already made some strides there too.
Mallory Brake, kid out of Minnesota, didn't play. I mean, her high school situation is one of the strangest I've seen, and with all the coaching changes and struggles they went through as a team. Yet, she put up incredible numbers for a post player, despite probably being the number one and maybe only focus on the scouting reports from a high school standpoint. Played on a really good AAU team. Like, what does Mallory Brake look like so far in practice here?
Yeah, she's a kid that's made. Was one of the 3 freshmen who came in this summer, and just recently, I feel like she's made a little bit of a jump. I mean, she's, she played a lot of high school volleyball too, and so I think she's got a ways to go in terms of being a face-up player, but she's a good athlete. She can run the floor. She can recover. I mean, defensively, I love what she can do in terms of recovery. She's a half step out of position. She can get herself back in position, and she's coming as a face-up player. But I mean, she makes layups. I think that's I've seen enough post players who can't make layups, and I think that's going to really help her. And she's good. She's good on the offensive glass. So I think, her best basketball is a ways away, but like she can, in some ways, she's a little like what Carly could do last year, just activity level, be on the glass, put pressure on the rim by running the floor, and then don't make, don't try to make plays on offense that you're not quite ready to make.
Emma Ronsick, Gatorade Player of the Year in South Dakota last year. Super talent, just a stud in both basketball and volleyball. So she got the 2 sport credentials. Probably could have played either at the next level based on what her performance. What type of player is she? Like, what do you see out of maybe what her future looks like? Is she one of these? Is she one of these versatile 4 types that can spread the floor for you, score inside, score at 3 levels? What are you expecting out of her in terms of what her ceiling possibly could look like at Creighton?
Yeah, she's the most of our freshman post. She's the most willing and comfortable with her back to the basket. She's had to play down there or gotten to play down there, so she's got good footwork. She's got a little Doug McDermott, one-legged kind of step back. Not as good as Doug, but she can make that shot. Like she's, and yet she's a good face-up player too. So I think she's offensively, she's a very talented player because she, like you said, she can score in the post, she can score at the 3 line, and she's a good decision maker. I've been impressed with her passing, and defensively, she'll struggle to guard quicker kids, but she's smart about using her length, and so I think she's kind of impressed me there because I felt like that would be a challenge for her, and it'll still be a challenge, but I feel like she's maybe a little bit further along than I would have thought, and she picks up things quickly. So I think she's got a chance to help us just because, like I said, she's probably our best back to the basket scorer, and yet that's not all she is on offense. And so excited about Emma for sure.
Gotcha. Jamie Horan was, I think, Gatorade Player of the Year in Nebraska 18-19, right? So coming out of Milford South. And I think she was a stud in softball too. Am I not mistaken? She was a 2-sport stud as well, right? Yeah, probably could have played either at the next level. What have you gotten out of her so far through her introduction to college basketball?
Jamie's just solid. Like she's not going to wow you in any way. But I think she's been well coached. She's picks things up quickly. She makes open threes. She is good at knowing what she can and can't. A good passer. She's got good size for a perimeter player at between 5'10" and 5'11". I think, and she's a very willing rebounder too. I think so. I think she's got a chance just because I think for a freshman, she knows what she can and can't do. And like I said, she can knock down open shots, but she's not out there trying to do more than she can do. Her issue is she's a little bit of a tweener in terms of where she's going to guard defensively. But, I do think she had to play a lot of man, and switch in high school on the perimeter. So even though she isn't going to be able to guard the quickest of kids, she can compete defensively probably better than I thought in terms of if she's got a little bit of a quickness disadvantage. But, I think she's a really, we've got so much depth, but I think she's definitely ready to play based on just, her understanding of the game and that she doesn't have any real flaws or noticeable flaws.
Gotcha. Rounding out this preview here with the last addition to the class, but one I think that you're pleasantly surprised with, just based on the early impressions and talking to some of your assistants and throughout the offseason here, Molly Mogensen. What stands out to you about the type of player, even though she was kind of a late addition to a class that you probably going into it didn't expect to be as big as it is in terms of the numbers you added? What have you been seeing so far out of what you got out of this late addition to the recruiting class?
Yeah, well, she's super strong. I mean, her dad's a high school football coach, so she's been in the weight room probably since fourth grade. She's a kid that if you watched one or two times, you wouldn't necessarily fall in love with. You got to watch her more because she's not going to wow you physically. But then you see her compete and you see, she defensively, she's better than you would think. She's got good hands. She's active. She's, laterally, she's just maybe average, but she's strong enough to stay in front of the ball. And then offensively, she's willing to throw the ball ahead. She's got a good mid-range game. I mean, and she shot the three well. She's not a high volume 3-point shooter for somebody who's 5'7" and she doesn't shoot it from 4 feet outside the line like some of our kids, but she's got to be pretty toed up. But she's again, I think she's super solid, and she's somebody that is going to be, she's capable of playing right away, but she's going to be a good player down the road. And I think she's got a lot of intangibles too. I think she's just a really tough-minded kid.
Gotcha. Well, as the snow starts to fall outside my office window, I think that's a good way to wrap this up. Hopefully I get to talk to you on Wednesday after a basketball game, but I'm certainly not going to hold you to that in the year of our Lord 2020. So if that does not happen, I'll wish you a happy Thanksgiving right now to you and your family. And always thank you for your time. I appreciate you sitting down, even though, as it normally does with you and I, it lasted longer than it was originally scheduled for. So I appreciate it nonetheless.
90% of the time, that's my fault, Matt. And happy Thanksgiving.
Appreciate it. Have a good one, sir.
We'll talk to you soon.